Hello again, friends and loyal Wolfpack members. Chaos Wolf here, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Raider ship kit for the Cobra Mark III. So, one of the brand new spiky ship kits. So let's go into the livery and have a look at the individual pieces. So first of all, we are going to start off with the spoilers. Now the first thing you'll notice in this kit is that you've only got 3 customizations per section, so 3 tails, 3 spoilers, 3 wings and 3 bumpers, whereas before you had 4 of each. But we do have something extra that comes in with this one. Whether that makes up for this or not for you is totally down to you. So the first one we've got here is Raider Ship Kit 1. And what this one is just a bunch of fins and so on and spikes that have just been added on to the ship. It doesn't really add too much more. We get a couple of spikes here, a couple of spikes there. We'll go and take a bit of a closer look at it. So as we can see, it basically just adds a bunch of struts, spikes and little fins and something over here that looks like a pair of energy cells or something. I don't really know what that is, but it's just something that's been bolted on, all haphazard style. So it's kind of interesting. We also get the little fin down the middle. Here we go. We get this little item here, which, like I said, it just all looks so haphazardly attached to the ship, which is, again, I suppose, what this is actually going for. It's trying to make it look like it's been maintained not to the highest of standards. And the second one is going to be this one here, and this adds a fairly large structure to the top of the ship. And as we can see, if we swap back and forth, it goes and adds a few extra bits to the back here, which actually go and extend further out, which I find fairly interesting. So let's go and take a quick bit of a closer look from the front of this one. So as we can see, this one adds quite a lot of spikiness to it. It looks like we've got some bull horns, which is very interesting, some cabling across the top, and what looks like a fuel drum maybe there, I'm not sure. So yeah, it's got another fin, what looks like half like a limpet drum, fuel drum, some kind of weird little antenna, and a few extra spikes poking out of the front. So this is very interesting to see. And from around the back, we can see that they've added some extra little, what look like potentially heat fins maybe? Really not sure. And we've got the 2 little bull bars at the back there, as well as some extra fins for the extra spikes coming up over the front. Now, there doesn't seem to be anything extra added on at this point. Nothing around the bottom or anything. So, yeah, that's basically it for that one. Now, the third and final of these tail pieces is going to be this one, the super spiky one. And as we can see, it adds one hell of a lot of spikes to the ship. Now, there's nothing that gets added around the back, and we can't go and have a proper look around with the new camera suite. Because that's one of the downsides I find with this camera suite, is I can't actually pan all the way around the ship in the hangar anymore. But, oh well. Now, as you can see, it basically just adds a lot of spikiness to the top of the ship. It almost makes me think of Sonic the Hedgehog on steroids. But I do like this one. Now, out of all of these ones, I've got to say that I really do like this one the most. It just adds the most character to the ship for me. I mean, yes, we get all the extra tubing, cabling, tubing and antennas and so on this one. We get a few spikes and so on this one with a big bloody girdery section over there, or a strutted section there, which is very interesting. But I've got to say, I much prefer this one. So that's what we're going to go for. Now we're moving on to the wings. And the first one of these is going to be this one. Now the first thing we notice when we go for this one, let's go to there first, and then back again, is that we get an extra little spike here. We get something bolted on underneath the wing itself, and some spikes and potential antenna bits coming out the front here. So let's go and see just how good of a look we can get at this. So the first thing I notice from this is that we've got what looks like some kind of power cell or something actually going into one of our positional thrusters. We've got one on the bottom as well as a bunch of spikes coming out of the side and some random bits of metal plating attached on this side. And on the other side we have the extra spike that we have there, these three extra spikes and what looks like some kind of antenna here. And again, some extra things bolted on underneath. Now, I do like the amount of weight that these actually go and add on to the ship. Now, again, I'm just talking about visual weight. I'm not actually talking about any extra weight that goes and gets added on to the ship itself. And bear in mind, these are only cosmetic. They don't actually go and change the hitboxes of the ship either. Now, the second of these PCs is this one here, and as we can see, it basically just goes and adds on some kind of little canistery thing there. Almost looks like a shell of some description. Bolted onto the side, a little bit of extra support here, I think. Let's go and check. No, that's actually part of the ship. Sorry, my bad. We've got a couple of a spike here, a spike there, and some extra material here. And I've just got to realise that actually does go and cover over our port there. Our positional thrusters. That's interesting. So having a look at this side here, we can see that we do indeed cover over our positional thruster, and we do have an additional spike coming out, but we don't have any. Well, actually, we do even have an extra little bit of some kind of canistery stuff welded to the underside of the ship. I didn't notice that before because you don't really see it from the main view. We've also got extra stuff added onto the side here, and let's go and have a look over at the other side. So on this side we've got roughly the same kind of thing added on to the far wing, although it's got some extra pieces on this side. So we seem to have some kind of extra little spiky antennae thing. We've also got some extra what looks like munitions hanging off the ship, maybe bombs or something, I'm not sure. Or maybe just some extra canisters. Not to mention we've even got some extra little bits of material just added here with some extra tubing. But on this side it does not actually go and cover over our positional thruster, which I find rather interesting that it has actually gone and covered over the other side. But if you like to have these things looking like they're covering over and your ship being in serious disrepair, this may be the one for you. So that was the second piece. The last one for the wings is this one here, and this is the extra super spiky one that just goes and adds even more spikes to the ship. So it extends the row of spikes that come along here down and around to the side. So I do kind of like this one, but I've got to say I kind of like the first one myself. But let's actually go and have a look at this one a little closer. Now, having a look at this one, we can actually see that the spikes do actually go and extend a lot further forward than what I was originally expecting. So this does make the ship very, very porcupining, very, very Mad Max Fury Road. Taking a look over at the other side, it's basically the same story over this side. We don't have any extra canisters, bombs, munitions, whatever attached on this side. So it's pretty much just the same thing on either side, just lots more spikes, making this thing look very, very uncomfortable. Now, as much as I like all the extra spikes on this one, making this look very, very uncomfortable, I do actually like this one, just because it goes and adds the extra little, the little containers onto the sides of the ship, and I do really like the way that looks. So I could go for that, I could go for this, and I'm actually going to go for this one. Now, moving on to the tail section, we can see that the first one is actually going to be this one. And all this does is just extends the back of the hull further out, making this look a little bit more like a Cobra Mk IV. But as you can see, it's just been bolted on, welded on, just bashed together onto the ship. So you can see that this thing has really not been lovingly put together. What I didn't notice as well is from this wing section we actually get a extra little spike coming out of the side here, which I do quite like as well. But I'm not really much of a fan of this one here, because I don't think we really need to go and have much of a better look at it, just because it you can basically see the whole thing from here. All it is just this section coming out, going in, and it looks like it's basically mirrored over on the other side. Now, the second one is this one, and as we can see, we've got some kind of shielding being added to the side of the heat vent here. It's been strutted over, got some extra spikes on, some reinforcing, and just basically some extra spikes coming up over the top. But because we can't see it all that well, I think it kind of deserves having a bit of a closer look. So as we can see, it actually adds a little bit more than what I originally thought we had. We've got some little bits of extra spikiness and plating at the bottom. As we can see, it is not symmetrical at all. And we've basically got an extension on the side here and an extension coming off the back there. We've also got a little bit right there, extended out. Not to mention, we've also got what looks like... Yep, and a little extension coming off the back there, which has also been strutted. So again, it's all completely non-symmetrical. So if that's the kind of thing you really like, then this is going to be a really good kit for you. And lastly, for the tails, we also have the third one, which is going to be this one, which basically just adds some extra spikes to the side here and coming out the back there. So that's going to be lots and lots of spiky goodness. Not sure what I think about this one myself. You can see a lot of spikes over on the other side as well. That looks very nice as well. But I've got to say, out of all of these, I kind of really think that I prefer this one. Actually, I'm not really sure. You know what, I actually think I do like the third one, just because it messes with the lines of the Cobra on the sides here. So I think what we are going to do is, in fact, actually just go for this one. And lastly now, we're actually moving over to the bumper section. So let's go and have a look in here. Again, we've got three pieces in here, the first one of which is going to be this one. And wow, that adds a lot straight away onto the ship. Because we can see we've got big hosing coming down here, coming out of that section of the ship, coming into here. It looks like something's been bypassed. Maybe Kaylee's been working on this one. We've got a big spike out the front here, big kind of a little wing wedge thing with another bolted on spike there. In fact, let's actually just get a better look at this. Right, now as you can see, we've got two fins added onto this one either side of the nose here. And this kind of gives the ship a bit of a hammerhead feel in my eyes. We've also got some hosing over this side, so again, something's been messed with over here. We can actually see that one of the panels has been opened up and corroded, and it's got some bypass going straight through there into one of the positional thrusters, which seems to kind of go and work with the one we've got in the back there being bypassed. We've also got this massive little spike coming off here, as well as another spike there, some more hosing coming off here. So I really do like just how these look like the mechanics are doing their best, but they've got a very little to work with. And obviously we've got this massive roll cage, what looks like, over the canopy. Now as you can see, this has just been welded to the ship. Now I have checked, and you can actually see this from inside the cockpit. So this is really spectacular, and it looks like it actually goes and attaches to the piece over there, which is really nice as well. Not only that, but we've got an additional little piece added onto the front here with some extra little, potentially batteries or fuel cells or something, I'm not quite sure. And one of the downsides about this particular piece is this actually does cover over your front decal. So if you're not too fussed about that, that's fine. If you like the look of it, go for it. But it just bugs me a little bit not being able to have a front decal. Then again, having a roll cage like this is just absolutely amazing. So it's a bit of a toss-up really between having the roll cage and not having the front decal. So really depends on what you want. Okay, so the second piece for the bumpers is going to be this one, and this is spectacular as well. So let's go and select this one. Now as we can see straight away, we've got some extra what look like fuel cells. They look like they're kind of cargo containers being used, being kind of, or maybe even limpets or something. I've just been bolted on and used for something else, just jerry-rigged into something else. We've got a cage over our positional thruster here. We've got some extra little spikes coming out here. Some extra reinforced spikes there, and potentially something underneath. I'm not quite certain. We'll have to have a closer look. So, having a much closer look, we can see that we have indeed got a bit of a fin and a spike coming out on this side. We have, in fact, got another fin and spikes on this side as well. Both sides of the positional thrusters have now got cages over them. But we've also got this absolutely huge extension onto the side here. I mean, it's even more what look like fuel cells or something just being bolted on and jerry-rigged into the ship's systems. We've also got another fin here, which I can't imagine do anything for the ship. But I kind of do like this one, because it looks like we've almost got some like fuel cells, power cells that look like they're being kind of diverted off into the weapon bays, perhaps to overcharge the weapons, maybe? I'm not sure. But this looks kind of interesting. And now the last of the bumpers is actually going to be this one. This is just the one that adds another metric buttload of spikes all over the ship. Now I've got to say, I've just realised that every single one of these actually does go and cover over the decal. So regardless of which one you're going to choose, you're going to be losing your front decal, or at least having it covered over. But this one does actually go and add a metric buttload of spikiness on here. Looks very orky to me. So let's go and get a bit of a closer look to this, because yeah, as you can see, it just adds so many down the front. This is just an uncomfortable ramming machine. Although I can't imagine any of these are actually going to hold up very well ramming up against another ship, unless it's a very lightly armoured Imperial ship. Now, as we can see, looking at the setup of the spikes themselves, this is really not symmetrical either. So none of this pack at all is symmetrical. But adding all this to it, as we can see going underneath, we get even more spikes underneath, all swept back. So that's a bit dangerous for people loading and unloading this ship. But then again, I suppose safety isn't really the utmost of concerns here. Again, we've got a massive amount of spikes up the front. It just makes it look very, very Mad Maxian. Not sure what I think about this one. In fact, I actually think I prefer one of the different ones. But I don't know. This might be something that's for you. You might just want to be just completely all for this spiky goodness. What I've noticed as well is we've got some extra little... because this looks like it's kind of bolted on almost. Well, I say bolted on. It has been welded, as we can see, if I just get my pointer up. Here we go. You can see it's been welded around here, but this bit's just holding on the main plate. So it's just bashed on so haphazardly. Now, I've got to say, out of all of these, I actually do prefer this one the most. Just because we go and get a bloody roll cage, and that is amazing. I also love this tubing over here. And I believe we've got something a little bit more over the other side. I just love how scraping the bottom of the barrel for parts and keeping this thing together this actually looks. I really do like this. But as I said, we do have some extra pieces in this. Basically to make up for the fact, or at least to attempt to make up for the fact, that you've only got 3 parts per section. Now what this is we've actually got some paint jobs. Now, the reason I actually went for the tactical eye straight away is so you could quite easily see where the pieces were, because these pieces do not actually change colour based on what paint job you're using, like the normal ship kids usually do. So let's actually go and have a look at this. As you can see, we'll go to black and blue, and the pieces stay the same colour. And so they're not really going to fit with any of the current paint jobs. Well, I say current paint jobs, the paint jobs before this ship kit, because what this has actually done is giving us some corroded paint jobs, so you can make your ship look really old and beaten up without it actually being old and beaten up, because some of you guys like to have that. But it does take a while for the paint to actually wear off your ship, but with these you don't even have to wait for that. So we basically got corroded 1 through to 6, and they're all just different shades. We've got number 1 here, number 2, which is ever so slightly lighter, but as you can see, it's kind of a little bit more mottled. Corroded 3 is even more so. You can see it's not kind of a flat colour. It's just looks like it's been stippled over with just lots of different textures. We'll go down to number 6 here. This is much darker but a bit more green. Oh, then over to Corroded 5. This is way more kind of bitty because as we can see in certain parts, it's actually a lot darker. And then we've got Corroded 4, which is this one here. Basically, you can make your ship just look really old, worn, and beaten up. I've got to say, overall, though, I really like this one myself. I think it actually kind of goes and... I'm not quite sure. Okay, well, I've got to say, I'm starting to think that Corroded 2 is actually the best one for this, that it actually goes and keys in the colour closest to the additional parts. So that's actually what I'm going to go for. Now, what else we can do is we can actually go and have a look at our decals and so on and just see what this would actually look like with the kit. Like I said, normally putting my Wolfpack one on the front here, but as you can see, it just does not fit here at all. So there's no point actually having one up the front. Even if you went for the Kumo one, it just would not show up. So it's very little point of actually having that one there. But we could go, but both the left and the right, they both look fine. So we could go for the Kumo one to make this look very piratey. Or I could even go for my decal as well, although for some reason that just looks a little bit shiny. So we're actually just going to go and stick with the Kumo, just because we want this to look very, very piratey. I mean, theoretically, I could even go for the old pirate one, the skull one here. And that looks very nice as well. Basically, over to this side, we're going to go and do the same. I'm actually going to go and put the limited edition skull one on here as well. You needed to get the mercenary pack in order to have this one. So I do like the look of that. And we're also just going to go and add some names onto this one as well. So we've named this one quickly the Hammerhead. And we're going to go and add the plates onto this one. Now, because all of these extra bits that have been added onto the sides here, just over the hull of the ship, it does kind of cover over some of the nameplates. So let's go and have a look. I mean, this one here, it's covering over part of it. If we went to this one, it'd cover over the skull. If we go to this one, again, it covers over the skull. But it really depends on just what you want to go and have on there. So here we're actually just covering over the D there in Hammerhead. But I still like that anyway, so we're going to go for that. And on the other side, we're actually going to go and do the same. So let's go for this one. But you can still hear that it's Hammerhead, and it's covering over the main icon there. I mean, theoretically, we could go down to this one, but that covers over the vast majority of the text, as does this one. So I think this one here with the fist there is actually one of the better ones, especially since that skull is virtually the same as this one. So I think this actually fits quite well. I mean, we can even go and fit some ship IDs on here as well. And I do think that overall, you could go for the black ones or the grey ones, but I think the white ones kind of work the best for me. I mean, the grey maybe if you don't want it to stand out as much, but I like things standing out, so that's what I'm going to go and do, is cover over those ones. So there we go, that is looking absolutely spectacular, very piratey there. I mean, we could go and change these over and have different things on either side just to make it even less symmetrical, which is entirely doable. We could even go and just have this on one side, maybe, and just have this there and not on the other side, I don't know. Really depends on what we want to go and achieve here. I just like having it like this. Well, let's go and have a bit of a closer look at the finished product. Alright, so here we are, a final look at how we've gone and set up this ship. I've got to say, it looks extremely menacing. No, that well, we got the glow off the extra pieces that have been added on just because of the positional thrusters. I've got to say, I really like this. And the fact that it looks so corroded is absolutely spectacular as well. Now, I am starting to wonder whether the paint jobs themselves were a little bit low res, because they really do look it. So I'm wondering if that's just a bug currently, or whether there's some issues with how my game is set up right now. But overall, I've got to say, I really do like just how differently this actually goes and makes the Cobra look. It's less squeaky clean and a lot more terrifying. This is definitely a pirate ship. So now you've seen how I like to have this ship set up. Let me know how you would like to have this set up as well. Would you like to go and pick up one of these kits for yourselves? I mean, I really do like this one. I mean, just look at all that extra spiky goodness. Now, one last thing we've got to go and have a look at before we go is what it looks like from inside the cockpit with that roll cage. And here we are inside, and as you can see the bars for the roll cage there going across the bottom there and covering over that side window there. So it does actually go and obscure a little bit of our view, but it's not a great amount. It's only one of the panels for the canopy, so it's not a massive problem, but that might be a little bit too much for you to handle if you've got an OCD or whatever. Now, it would be nice if we could actually change the way the cockpit looks inside as well, to go and match the beaten up look of outside, but I suppose that's going to be coming in the future. I've got to say, overall, I really do like this ship kit. Now, I'm not sure whether I'm going to end up going and flying the two ships that this is for at the moment, because currently it's just for the Cobra and the Asp Explorer. But we're going to have a look at that one next time. So, as I said, let me know what you think of this ship kit. Are you going to go pick one up for yourself? If not, why? And yeah, go on, in the comments. But yes, that's going to be it for this video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Like it if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't. As I said, if neither of those are good enough for you, that's what the comments are for. But I've been Commander Chaos Wolf from Sci-Fi Gaming. You guys, as always, have been epic. I will see you soon. And until next time, my fellow commanders, keep flying and stay shiny.